Most people think food can only grow one way. Outward. Across the ground. Long rows. Big gardens. Acres of land. That's what modern gardening taught America to believe. But old survival growers knew something different. When the ground failed, the walls became the garden. And right now, while most people are struggling with tiny backyards, rising food prices, dead soil, apartment living and shrinking space, a forgotten growing method is quietly returning. Vertical food walls. Not decoration. Not fancy Pinterest gardening. Real food. Climbing beans. Hanging squash. Medicinal herbs. Tomatoes taller than a grown man. Sweet potatoes climbing fences like living green ladders. Entire meals growing upward instead of outward. And once you understand why old farmers did this during hard times, you'll never look at a wall the same way again. Because the truth is, the average American backyard wastes enormous growing space every single day. Fences. Garage walls. Balcony rails. Wooden pallets. Old ladders. Broken shelves. Even abandoned chain link fences. Most people see barriers. Old survival gardeners saw food production. Especially during the Depression era, Appalachian mountain communities and poor southern homesteads learned something powerful. If you don't have more land, you make the air itself become the farm. And honestly, once summer heat starts crushing ground crops, vertical growing becomes even more important. Better airflow. Fewer fungal problems. Easy harvesting. Stronger sunlight exposure. Less pest damage. Old growers didn't use the word vertical farming. They simply called it common sense. Now here's the crazy part. Some climbing vegetables actually produce more when they grow upward instead of spreading across the dirt. Pole beans are a perfect example. Many Americans today still grow bush beans low to the ground. But old mountain gardeners often preferred pole beans climbing rough wooden poles or corn stalks because the harvest lasted longer, the plants stayed healthier and picking became easier on the body. Less bending. Less rot. More airflow. More sunlight. More food in less space. And once you start seeing how much wasted vertical space exists around your home, it becomes impossible to ignore. Look around. Fence lines. Balcony corners. Shed walls. Porch rails. Even old cattle panels. Every one of them can become food-producing space. That's exactly why this method exploded during food shortages and wartime gardening. Families discovered they could triple production without buying more land. One old southern trick was using discarded bed springs as climbing frames for cucumbers and beans. Sounds strange now. But back then, people reused everything. Nothing wasted. Another forgotten method used old tobacco sticks tied into tall teepee structures for climbing peas. Native American growers had already understood vertical companion planting centuries before modern gardening channels existed. Corn growing upward. Beans climbing the corn naturally. Squash spreading underneath to shade the soil. 3 crops working together like a living survival system. And honestly, modern gardening forgot how intelligent these systems really were. Today most people overcrowd tiny raised beds and wonder why production stays low. But old growers thought differently. They understood that sunlight is not only horizontal. It's vertical. Which means food can stack upward in layers. Imagine this. Tomatoes climbing 6 feet high. Herbs hanging underneath. Lettuce protected in partial shade below taller plants. Beans climbing behind everything. Suddenly a tiny backyard starts behaving like a miniature food forest. And this becomes even more powerful in urban America where space keeps shrinking every year. That's why vertical food walls are quietly becoming one of the smartest survival gardening systems for modern times. Especially for renters. Especially for apartments. Especially for people with almost no land at all. And no, you do not need expensive systems. In fact, some of the strongest setups come from scrap materials. Old pallets are one of the best examples. During hard times, families used upright wooden pallets filled with soil pockets to grow herbs, onions, and greens. Cheap, simple, effective. Some people today spend thousands on vertical gardening kits. Old gardeners used broken wood and chicken wire. Huge difference. And here's something most gardening channels never mention. Vertical systems can actually help protect food during extreme summer heat. Ground-level soil can become brutally hot in states like Texas, Arizona, and parts of Florida. But plants climbing vertically often experience better airflow and slightly cooler root environments when mulched properly. That airflow matters more than people realize. It reduces mildew, helps leaves dry faster after rain, prevents fungal outbreaks that destroy crops in humid climates. This is why old southern gardeners often trained cucumbers upward instead of letting them rot across wet soil. And once you see the difference side by side, it's hard to go back. One cucumber vine climbing a fence can produce shocking amounts of food over a season. especially heirloom varieties. Some Appalachian families planted scarlet runner beans mainly because they climbed aggressively while also attracting pollinators. Beauty and survival combined together. That's another forgotten mindset modern gardening lost. Old growers didn't separate useful from beautiful. They made both happen at the same time. Grapes climbing porch rails. Pole beans covering ugly fences. Herbs spilling from window boxes. Everything productive. Everything alive. Even medicinal plants were often grown vertically near kitchen doors for easy access. And there's another advantage nobody talks about enough. Harvest visibility. When food grows upward, you actually see what's ready. That means less waste. Less forgotten produce rotting under leaves. Less hidden pest damage. Easier daily harvesting. Old people understood something modern life forgot. The easiest food is to reach, the most consistently people use it. That's why kitchen gardens stayed close to the house. Fast access changes behavior. And vertical systems make harvesting incredibly simple. But there's a mistake almost everybody makes when trying this for the first time. They underestimate weight. Especially with crops like melons, squash, and heavy tomatoes. Old farmers solved this using cloth slings, feed sacks or strips of old fabric to support heavy fruit while the vines continued climbing. Again, simple solutions. No expensive gadgets. And honestly, some of the best vertical growers in America were people with almost no money at all. They had to innovate because survival demanded it. That pressure created brilliant systems. Like using sunflower stalks as natural bean poles after the flowers finished blooming. Or reusing old fishing netting for climbing parts. Or letting pumpkins climb sturdy livestock panels to protect fruit from ground rot. Once you understand the logic behind these methods, you stop seeing gardening as neat little boxes and rows. You start seeing surfaces. Structures, angles, light exposure, air movement. Suddenly your entire property becomes potential growing space. Even tiny corners become useful. And here's where things get really interesting. Vertical food walls don't just grow food. They change microclimates around the home itself. Thick climbing vines can cool hot walls during summer. They reduce reflected heat. Some old southern homes intentionally grew edible vines near porches because the shade lowered indoor temperatures naturally before air conditioning existed. Imagine that. Food production and cooling happen together. Modern systems rarely think that way anymore. But old homesteaders constantly stack functions together. Every structure had multiple purposes. Fence, shade, food support, windbreak, privacy barrier. Survival systems were designed to work harder because resources stayed limited. And in a strange way, America may be slowly returning to that mindset again. Rising grocery prices, smaller living spaces, more people wanting independence, more families trying to grow at least some of their own food. That's exactly why these forgotten methods matter now. Because they solve modern problems using old wisdom. And honestly, some of the strongest vertical crops are surprisingly easy for beginners. Pole beans, cucumbers, Malabar spinach, sugar snap peas, small melons, even certain squash varieties. Sweet potatoes can become aggressive climbing vines in warm zones. In cooler northern states, parts explode upward during spring temperatures. In humid southern summers, loofah gourds climb like jungle plants if given enough heat. Every USDA zone has something that wants to climb. You just need to stop forcing everything to stay on the ground. And maybe that's the biggest lesson here. Old growers adapted to the land they had instead of complaining about the land they didn't have. Tiny yard? Grow upward. Poor soil? Use containers. Harsh summers? Create shade. Limited money? Reuse materials. Their mindset was flexible because survival required creativity. Modern gardening sometimes becomes obsessed with perfect setups. Perfect raised beds. Perfect irrigation. Perfect aesthetics. But old survival gardening cared about one thing first. Producing food. Real food. Reliable food. Food that kept families alive during hard years. And vertical food walls became one of the smartest ways to do that. Especially in crowded spaces where every square foot matters. So next time you walk outside, look at your walls differently. Look at your fences differently. Look at your balcony differently. Because hidden inside those empty vertical spaces may be more food production than you ever imagined possible. And the strangest part? Most people will walk right past those spaces every day without realizing they're staring at a future garden. That's how forgotten this old knowledge became. But maybe not for much longer. Because once food starts climbing the walls, people suddenly realize how much abundance was hiding in plain sight the entire time. And if this opened your eyes even a little, comment below with what you would grow first on a vertical food wall. Beans? Tomatoes? Cucumbers? Maybe something your grandparents used to grow. And if you want more forgotten American survival gardening methods that still work today, hit like, subscribe and stay close, because some of the oldest farming tricks are becoming the most valuable knowledge of all over again.